What's going on YouTube? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Welcome to Oh So Simplified, coming to you with a video here about why you must be disliked. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you didn't like, leave negative comments, any feedback will do. Let's jump into this one. So I'm actually going to start here. Before I jump in, I do want to thank everybody that watched my previous video, as well as all the comments and engagement. I really appreciate that. If you guys can keep it up, I'd be a happy man. Also, the person that did mention As a Man Thinketh, I'll have some content on that in the weeks to come. But for this one, want to jump into the courage to be disliked. Now, I'm actually going to rearrange the notes that I did add and start with the meat, just because I know some people just want to hear the good stuff and get out of here. For those that want to stick around and hear the full breakdown and the full application, the full video will do that. So I'm going to start this off with being disliked equals freedom. So this all is coming from a book called Courage to be Disliked and Courage to be Courage to be Happy, based on Adlerian psychology. And one of the main things that, I mean, you can hear it in the title, the courage to be disliked, that it describes is that being disliked is your only proof that you're living a free lifestyle. And we can take a look at people with people-pleasing behaviors and see how that works. So if you're a people pleaser, essentially you're living to make other people happy. You don't want people not to like you, and you do everything within your power to make people like you. And if you view this as like a political race, it's very easy to, for example, at least in America, we have a two-party system. It's very easy to appeal to one side. It's very hard to appeal to both sides, because at that point people have conflicting interests. And you'll have to, walk on eggshells to basically make everybody happy. So people that are people pleasers have this predicament throughout their life, where you're essentially walking on eggshells, attuning yourself to other people's responses, and changing your behaviors, actions, words, whatsoever, essentially changing yourself to fit these specific situations. And when you just extrapolate it out, it's impossible, because eventually you're going to reach a point where multiple people have differing interests. So with that being said, you're almost inevitably going to make somebody dislike you, and the act of people pleasing itself is a futile task, but it's also very stressful, because the only way to make that happen is to literally just measure everybody's reactions to everything you're doing and just always assess whether or not they like what you're doing or not. Now, this leads to a larger predicament, because even if you are, which most likely you're not going to be successful in, which is going to leave you unhappy to begin with. You're going to be unhappy because you're unsuccessful in people pleasing everyone, and then some people are unhappy. But even if you were to win everybody over, you're also going to be unhappy, because everybody actually likes the fake you, the you that you manufactured to make people more comfortable, to make people more happy. And this can run through any facet of life. I think a lot of times people look at it from maybe just like a romantic view, but this could be something that, yes, obviously in an intimate relationship. It could also be within a work relationship. This also could just be general, like, social stuff, like what you're doing, like when you're on the bus and on the train and things like that. But essentially, people pleasers are never happy, because one, they're always changing themselves to make other people like them. Generally, they're unsuccessful in their quest. And then lastly, even if they are successful in making everybody like them, they don't even like the real them. So it's almost like they have to keep up an act to keep people liking them. So this all leads to the conclusion that the way that you know you're free and you're not bogged down by other people's opinions is the fact that you are disliked. The fact that other people dislike you is evidence that you're living life freely. Because if you do stay within this people-pleasing mode, what's going to happen is that your inner voice is going to eat at you. It's going to keep eating at you and reminding you of the real person that you want to be, opposed to the person that you are, because you're scared of people disliking you. Now, I'm going to take a step back and kind of just walk back out of what Adlerian psychology is, and the courage to be disliked and what it was built on. So the courage to be disliked was built on a psychology by Alfred Adler, who was a rival to Sigmund Freud, who, at least in the West, most of our therapy models are built out of. The main argument they had was etiology versus teleology, which is causal based versus purpose based. So Alfred Adler's main view was the reason that people behave in a certain way is because it's achieving a specific purpose. The way that Sigmund Freud described things is the reason you are doing things is because of circumstances and situations that happened to you in the past. So one is the trauma argument, the Sigmund Freud, the etiology, that based on your past traumas, that's the outcome that's going to be produced. And then compared to teleology, Alfred Adler, and purpose-based, it's that, anything that you're doing is just specifically because there's a purpose behind it that behavior is serving for you. So Alfred Adler's view is a lot more empowering to the individual. Sigmund Freud is a lot more empowering to the environment. I think also this view has created a lot of hysteria, to be honest, in this current climate of the way people describe mental health, that everybody's always talking about their traumas and trying to focus on their traumas as this place that's going to be able to solve things, as opposed to their desires, their goals, and the purposes that they have in mind of achieving, and letting that be the driver of your behavior. And the way that he kind of describes this is using a counseling model that I guess they use in Adlerian style counseling, and it's a triangle that has three different labelings. So one is poor me, one is that bad person, the other one is what should I do from now on. And in general, when people go to counseling or go to vent any kind of problem, generally what they focus on is poor me or that bad person. So this person did that to me, this person did this to me, or I can't believe this happened to me and I can't believe that happened to me. The world is against me, or people are against me. And that would also be an ideological way of describing the current situation. Also is futile in terms of making the situation better, because no amount of listening and empathizing with those positions is going to change any circumstance that's leading to that feeling or particular outcome. As opposed to focusing on the third piece, what should I do from now on, which will fix it. So in the Adlerian psychology view, the first 2 points should almost be completely dismissed and disregarded. All that should be focused on is how you're going to respond to that moving forward based on the goal or purpose you have that you want to fulfill. So this, once again, becomes a way more empowering viewpoint, and it also unburdens you from other people or other circumstances, which gets to the point of being disliked. That if you are making actions unburdened by what other people think of you or what your circumstance is, therefore at any moment you can decide what kind of lifestyle you want to live. And that is an assertion that they make. It's also, if you listen to a lot of my videos, an assertion I make because I got it from the book and it made an impact, was that at any point you can choose your lifestyle. You can decide almost everything with your lifestyle. Now there might be some specific consequences that come with it, but like even to the simplest, like nobody says you have to wake up and go to your job tomorrow. Nobody said that. You could wake up, if you had the means, get a flight to Hawaii, go to Hawaii, live on the beach for 2 weeks, and nobody could really, quote unquote, stop you from doing that. Now, obviously, that's an exaggeration. That would lead to a lot of negative consequences. But I'm just saying, the idea of how you live your life and how you spend your time is actually completely up to you. There is nothing that is physically binding you unless you're in prison. Unless that's the case, generally the things that we say that are keeping us from behaving in a certain way, in the book, they describe as life lies. And these can be things like, I can't be successful because my boss doesn't like me. That's a life lie. You can still perform your job to the best of your ability. You don't need to worry about that bad person or poor me. That is a life lie that you're using to keep you from doing it. I can't go out to a networking event, or I can't go out and approach girls on the street because I have social anxiety. you're manufacturing, using that earlier in psychology, you're actually manufacturing the anxiety so that you don't have to do those goals. So the purpose of the anxiety is to keep you from engaging with the social world. And when you start to explain things from this standpoint, one, you'll see how, even going back to my last video about stripping away the parts of you that are no longer serving you, you can start to see how you're holding yourself back. And what he says is he doesn't completely remove the ideological viewpoint, at least from the starting point, that, at a certain point, let's say up till 9. I think 7 to 9 is generally where, you hear a lot of these philosophers talk, give me a man from 0 to 7, I'll tell you what he'll become, da 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 da. Where you create a lot of your baseline ways of, adapting to your environment. From 7 to 9, personally, I would even move it to 10. That, or I have a pretty good memory, but those are like a lot of the memories I have. My first memories of making solid decisions, like I want to do this or I don't want to do that. I want to impress this person or I like this person. Making those types of decisions. I would say around 7, 8, and obviously moving forward is when I felt like I started to make those decisions. So at that point is kind of when you make a decision on the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, a lot of people will call that your personality, and some people will label you, and some people will believe in that label and things of that sort. But you always have the choice to change that lifestyle from that point forward. So once you hit adulthood, the way you live is 100% your responsibility. You can't really put it on any other one person or any particular circumstance. All of those decisions moving forward are coming from you because you do have the ability to choose your lifestyle. And any pushback towards that, if you really drill down, is just a life lie. And that life lie is probably the thing in front of you that's keeping you from experiencing something that maybe deep down you ultimately want, but at the base level you don't want. Because if you did want it, you would not have the life lie that you can't have it or do it or what have you. Now, at the end of the day, why did I bring this up? Is because why does this even matter? So what? Who cares? People watching it, what's in it for me? That type of thing. And then this really matters because what I see, and as always, a lot of these videos are just coming from things that I'm experiencing in my life. That the thing that holds us back is, I would say, number one is fear of losing the tribe. So there is like a group of people that you currently associate with, you identify with, you view yourself with, that moving back to that people pleaser aspect, that you have been almost living a lie, living a shadow self in some particular emotion, and you think that that is why people like you, and you're scared that if you were to change the way you're acting, then that might change the response of other people, and you might be disowned by the quote-unquote tribe. Now, the interesting thing is two things. Number one, there is no tribe. All these people that you think are like even a friend group, and it could be a bunch of you, it might be a club, it might be your family, it might be a job, whatever it is. Number one, the ties that are keeping them together is way less tribe-like than you imagine. It's not like everybody is connected by this thing and it's like this known idea, and if you move away from that idea, then now you're no longer part of the tribe, everybody else is in the tribe. Really what the tribe is a bunch of just individuals that are just as confused as you are, trying to figure out their things and what they need to do just as much as you do. And your fear of losing the tribe is almost like a ridiculous fear, because it's like a fear of, it would almost be like a fear of me losing $1 million that I don't have. Like, you never really had this tribe. Now, you might attract people towards you that can create a new tribe based on this person that you're being now, and there might be individuals that don't, stick with you after you make this change. But it's not like you're being outcasted from the group and now you're going to have to survive, in the wilderness on your own. As you become this other person, other relationships and new people that want to be around you will form. And two, you're not going to like all in all like lose a tribe or a group of people that you thought you were enclosed to. Now the next one I would just say is just fear, and it kind of connects. It's just that fear of being yourself and fear of rejection. That it's one, way easier to be rejected being more of like a persona than somebody rejecting the true you. And even when I think about this channel sometimes, like I get, my biggest fears are generally from people that I know seeing what I'm putting up. Like I have zero fear about strangers seeing it. But people I know seeing my true thoughts that maybe I've never shared with them before because they don't give me 20 minutes to just speak straight. But that idea of getting true rejection is another big fear that I think holds people back. The next one, that in all three of these fears, the fear of losing the tribe, the fear of being rejected and having your true self rejected, and then also the fear of not being able to handle it, I think are all basically one that kind of all encapsulate themselves. But the fear of not being able to handle it is just that it's the courage to be disliked. Being disliked equals freedom. People are not going to like you. If you're being the real you, people are not going to like you. I'm going to say if you're being the fake you, people aren't going to like you. But if you're being the real you, you're going to have to face real rejection of your real self. However, it's much better than being accepted for somebody you aren't. And then you have the stress of holding that up. Because like the irony of the whole thing is that we like to view, you know, being a people pleaser, being a persona, fitting in with the group, trying to guess what other people want and being that. We view that as like less risky than just, you know, living off the cuff, living as yourself. Now I have two things. One is just a belief I personally believe, which is that people are attracted to your rough edges. Nobody wants to, you know, find a freaking perfect robot. Everybody knows their own BS that they have, their own dysfunction they have in their head. So it's like when they meet a perfect person, I think generally it'll scare them a little bit. But the other irony is, as I keep mentioning, it's like they're both risky. Like if you are a people pleaser and you guess wrong in terms of what people expect and what they want, and you give them something else, then they may reject you just in the same. If you're yourself, yeah, there's a potential of rejection, but if you look at where the upside is when you're being yourself and being the true person and choosing your lifestyle and living yourself for yourself, when people do like you, they like you for the right reasons, and it's going to bring you up, and you're going to actually have a real bond with somebody based on something real, as opposed to when people like you for the people pleaser version, you don't even get the upside. You sometimes avoid the downside of feeling the rejection and feeling that people don't like you, but you never get the upside of people actually liking you, because the thing that they like is really just a aberration, a fictitious persona or mask that you're putting on just to facilitate a particular situation. So that's really the main purpose of this, and this really can apply to anything from, you know, a family relationship. And if you get into the book, he actually describes all of this. Like a family relationship is a particular task. You have the task of work, the task of friendship, and the task of love. And this can be like family relationships, this can be work relationships, these can be just general friend relationships, and then these can be intimate relationships. That all of this really applies. It gets way deeper into, as I mentioned before, like the different life tasks that you have, work, friendship, love, as also different stages of problem behavior. So I think the books are very good to read on their own. I think that the main portion that I've covered is like the most applicable part to like an individual just looking to hear something and apply it to their life. Just that being yourself is going to force people to dislike you, but the idea that other people dislike you is proof that you're living life on your terms. And if you're not living life for yourself, then who are you living life for? So that's really it for this one. As I keep mentioning, I'm going to make some changes to the channel, but do want to be consistent, especially to also show my appreciation to everybody that watched my last video. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you didn't like, leave some negative comments. Any feedback will do. And you know what it is. Till next time, peace.